Rain hammered against the glass walls of the Whitmore penthouse, each drop echoing the storm forming inside Lauren's chest. She stood motionless in the dim kitchen light, her hand resting protectively over her 5-month pregnant belly as she stared at the letter she had just written. Not a goodbye, not quite a confession, more like a final warning, quiet, sharp, and unforgettable. Hours earlier, she had walked into the one place she thought was safe, her own home. Instead, she found her husband Trevor wrapped in a towel, Madison's laughter floating through the air like broken glass. Her best friend, her closest confidant, the woman who held her hand through her first ultrasound, now wearing Lauren's robe and pouring wine like she lived there. Trevor hadn't even looked guilty, just annoyed like Lauren had interrupted a private moment he believed he deserved. The betrayal was deep enough to steal her breath, but their faces carved the wound open all the way. So Lauren wrote, not a scream, not a plea, a single page that felt heavier than truth itself. She placed it gently on the counter next to her half-empty prenatal vitamins. The lights flickered as thunder rolled across the city. The whole apartment felt like a stage moments before the final spotlight burned out. She put on her coat with trembling hands, grabbed nothing but her phone, and walked out. No bags, no plan. Only silence following her like a shadow. By dawn, a janitor found the letter and snapped a picture out of curiosity. Within an hour, it had spread across Seattle like wildfire. News anchors repeated her name. Online forums exploded with theories. Strangers wondered why a pregnant woman would vanish after writing a note so haunting it felt like a curse. And Trevor? He read the letter 3 times and still didn't understand what she meant. But the city would soon learn that Lauren's disappearance wasn't the end. It was the beginning of a reckoning no one saw coming. Before the night she disappeared, Lauren Whitmore had always been the kind of woman people underestimated. Soft-spoken, gentle, the type who remembered birthdays, brought soup when someone was sick, and apologized even when she wasn't wrong. She didn't have a big family. Her mother died when she was young, and her father drifted out of her life long before she learned how to spell his name. For years, she built her own sense of home out of small things. Warm light, framed photographs, the smell of cinnamon on slow Sundays. And then she met Trevor. He was everything she thought stability looked like: sharp suit, confident laugh, a man who appeared to have the world balanced neatly in the palm of his hand. When he told her she made him feel grounded, she believed him. When he said marriage would make them stronger, she believed that too. And when she found out she was pregnant, she thought life was finally giving her the family she'd always wished for. But pregnancy changed everything. Her energy dropped. Her income as a freelance photographer became uncertain. She couldn't climb ladders or run after clients anymore. Trevor began controlling more of the finances for her safety, slowly turning her into a guest in her own marriage. He monitored what she bought, commented on what she ate, and insisted she rest more whenever she tried to pick up additional work. Each restriction felt small at first, almost reasonable, until it wasn't. By her 5th month, Lauren felt more like a shadow than a wife. What hurt most wasn't Trevor's indifference. It was carrying their child while feeling completely alone. Some nights she'd lie awake, one hand over her growing belly, whispering promises to the baby. "You're not going to grow up the way I did. I won't let that happen." Her voice would shake, but her resolve never did. Yet even with all her quiet strength, Lauren hadn't been prepared for the betrayal waiting behind her own front door. The laughter she heard from Trevor and Madison still echoed in her skull like a bruise that refused to fade. It wasn't just cheating. It wasn't just humiliation. It was the final confirmation of something she had tried to deny for months. Trevor had never seen her as an equal, only as someone he could shape, restrain, and eventually replace. Still, there was something Trevor didn't know. Something even Lauren hadn't fully realized about herself. And that truth, once awakened, would become the very force that would destroy everything Trevor thought he controlled. Seattle sparkled beneath the evening clouds, the kind of glow that made the city look softer, richer, almost forgiving. But for Lauren, living high above it all in the Whitmore penthouse felt less like a luxury and more like a well-decorated cage. Every detail inside the apartment hinted at wealth: marble counters, curated art, floor-to-ceiling windows, framing the skyline like a living painting. Trevor loved reminding guests that the view alone cost more than most people made in a year. Lauren seldom invited anyone. She used to think the silence of the penthouse was peaceful, until pregnancy taught her the difference between quiet and loneliness. She spent long afternoons curled up on the white sectional sofa, editing photos on her aging MacBook, while Trevor worked from his sleek, newest model version at the glass office desk across the room. Even their devices represented the distance between them, his cutting edge, hers good enough for now. There were nights when Trevor returned home late, smelling faintly of cigar smoke from private lounges in the Columbia Tower. He called them networking sessions, the kind he insisted Lauren wouldn't enjoy. Nights when she offered to cook, he waved her off, claiming he'd already eaten. Nights when she felt the bed dip beside her hours after midnight, but his touch felt colder than the sheets. Lauren had always been grateful for beautiful spaces, but lately, even beauty felt exhausting. The polished marble floors, once her favorite feature, now reflected a woman she barely recognized. Tired eyes, thinning patience, a belly growing faster than her confidence. She used to hang her photographs on the hallway walls, snapshots of sunrise over the Puget Sound, or candid portraits of strangers she met at Pike Place Market. But Trevor removed them, replacing her prints with expensive pieces from galleries he thought looked more professional. He didn't want her art. He wanted an aesthetic. Still, Lauren tried to tell herself she was lucky. She had a home others dreamed of, a baby on the way, a husband who, at least at first, seemed dependable. But every time the lights dimmed at night, the truth whispered to her that luxury meant nothing when the heart behind it was hollow. She could feel something darker brewing beneath the surface, something Trevor tried to keep hidden. And she was right. Because the penthouse wasn't just a cage, it was a vault of secrets Lauren was never meant to discover. Trevor Whitmore had always been charming in the way successful men often were confident, smooth, and careful about which version of himself he allowed others to see. To the outside world, he was the golden husband, the upward-climbing professional who took great care of his pregnant wife. But inside the penthouse walls, the shine dimmed, his patience shortened, his words cut deeper. And every month, Lauren's belly grew, the gap between them widened. It began subtly, comments that sounded like jokes but weren't jokes at all. Maybe slow down on the carbs, babe. Pregnancy weight is real. You should be grateful you don't have to work full-time anymore. Don't stress about finances. I'm handling everything. Handling everything meant shutting her out of decisions that affected her life. It meant taking her name off accounts she once had access to. It meant he could disappear for hours without explanation, yet question her if she took too long at a doctor's appointment. At first, Lauren blamed the stress of his job, or exhaustion, or the changes pregnancy brought to both of them. But something darker was brewing, something she didn't want to see. That's where Madison Cole slipped in. Madison, the friend Lauren once trusted with her deepest fears and happiest news. Madison, who held her hand at her first prenatal scan. Madison, who brought smoothies and vitamins, giving off the illusion of support. Lauren thought Madison was simply the kind of friend who filled spaces others left empty. But Madison had always envied her, the marriage, the home, the life. And she studied Trevor carefully, recognizing the cracks before Lauren did. Madison knew exactly when to be sympathetic, when to laugh at his jokes, when to look impressed by his success. And Trevor liked being admired. He liked it too much. Their friendship grew in the shadows. Late-night work sessions, coffee runs without Lauren, inside jokes whispered just out of her hearing. Lauren noticed the shift in their glances, but never allowed herself to believe the unthinkable. She didn't want to be that wife paranoid, insecure, imagining betrayal where none existed. Still, the signs were everywhere. Trevor came home smelling faintly of Madison's perfume. Madison suddenly bought luxury clothes far beyond her budget. They both locked their phones. They both grew distant in the exact same rhythm, as if rehearsing a coordinated dance. And Lauren, though she didn't know why yet, felt a slow, hollow ache building inside her chest. Because something was coming, something that would destroy the version of reality she clung to. And when the truth finally broke open, it would shatter her world in a way she could never undo. It happened on a Thursday, one of those gray Seattle afternoons when the sky looked heavy enough to fall. Lauren had just finished her prenatal checkup when her phone buzzed with a message from Trevor. Working late. Don't wait up. No heart emoji. No question about her appointment. Just cold efficiency. But on her way home, Lauren noticed a strange charge on their shared account. an expensive dinner at the Bellevue Grand Hotel. Trevor hated that place. Too pretentious, he always said. So why spend over $200 there? Her heart hammered, but she told herself she was imagining things. Pregnancy made emotions unpredictable. Still, something deep inside her whispered, "Go." Lauren called a rideshare and gave the driver the hotel's address. As they approached the entrance, she saw luxury cars lined up: Mercedes, BMWs, a black Bentley with tinted windows. A valet opened a door for a couple stepping out, the woman laughing too loudly, her heels clicking like gunshots on marble. The lobby smelled of lilies and expensive perfume. A pianist played near the bar. Everything looked peaceful, too peaceful. But Lauren knew peace was the perfect disguise for secrets. She walked deeper inside and froze. There they were, Trevor and Madison, sitting in a private booth near the window. Madison wore a silk dress Lauren had admired months ago, but never bought because it felt too extravagant. Trevor, her husband, was leaned in close, whispering something that made Madison blush. Lauren's breath left her. She watched Madison slide her hand across the table, resting it on Trevor's. He didn't pull away. Instead, he intertwined their fingers the same way he used to hold Lauren's, back when he still looked at her like she mattered. Then, the final blow. Madison lifted her wine glass and said, loud enough for Lauren to hear, "To new beginnings." Trevor clinked his glass against hers, smiling like a man reborn. Lauren felt the room tilt. The carpet softened beneath her feet, and her vision blurred. The betrayal wasn't subtle anymore. It wasn't hidden behind whispers, locked phones, or late nights. It was right there. Public, proud, celebrated. A hotel guest brushed past Lauren, giving her a curious glance. That's when she realized she was trembling, and the baby inside her shifted as if sensing her pain. She backed away slowly, her breath shallow, her chest tight. She didn't confront them. She didn't scream. She didn't collapse. She turned and walked out because something colder than heartbreak had settled in her bones. And in that moment, Lauren understood that what she had seen was only the surface. The real betrayal ran far deeper than she ever imagined. Lauren didn't remember how she reached the sidewalk outside the Bellevue Grand Hotel. One moment, she was watching Trevor and Madison toast to new beginnings, and the next, she was standing in the freezing air, her breath coming out in sharp, uneven bursts. Seattle traffic roared around her, but everything sounded muffled, as if the world had slipped underwater. She pressed a hand against her belly, trying to steady herself. "Baby, I'm sorry," she whispered. The words drifted into the wind, fragile, trembling, broken. Her rideshare cancellation fee pinged on her phone, but she barely noticed. She walked aimlessly, passing storefronts she couldn't see, faces she couldn't register. Her mind replayed everything in brutal, slow motion, the fingers intertwined across the table, the glass clinking, the soft, intimate smile Trevor had never given her in months. She wondered if she had ever truly known him. Pregnancy already made her emotional, vulnerable, unsure. But this was a level of pain she didn't know a human heart could survive. She lowered herself onto a bench outside an empty cafe, gripping its cold metal edge. Tears blurred the neon lights until everything looked like a watercolor painting running in the rain. Her phone buzzed again. A text from Madison. "Hope you're doing okay. Trevor told me you've been extra stressed. Try to relax. You know I'm here for you." Lauren stared at the message, her vision narrowing into a single, burning point. Madison knew she had seen them. She had to know. And still she lied, as effortlessly as breathing. The betrayal layered itself, deeper and deeper, until it pressed on her lungs like weight. Then came another message, this time from Trevor. "We need to talk later. Don't make a scene. Don't make a scene." Her hands shook, her jaw locked. Somehow, those 4 words hurt more than everything she witnessed at the hotel. Not an apology, not concern for her or the baby, just an instruction, a command, a dismissal. She leaned forward, elbows on her knees, fighting the suffocating sensations spiraling inside her chest. She had always been calm, reasonable, quiet, trying to keep the peace even when she was the one hurting. But tonight, peace felt like a luxury she could no longer afford. As rain finally began to fall, soaking her clothes, chilling her skin, Lauren felt something shift inside her. A small, sharp awareness, a spark. A voice she had silenced for years whispered, You cannot survive this by staying the same. And in that moment, Lauren took her first step toward becoming someone Trevor would never see coming. By sunrise, the storm outside the penthouse had calmed, but inside the building, another kind of storm was brewing, one that would ripple far beyond Seattle. The janitor assigned to the 42nd floor began his usual morning routine, sweeping the hallways and emptying bins. When he stepped into the Whitmore kitchen to replace the trash bag, he noticed something unusual on the marble counter. A letter, folded neatly, handwritten, delicate but heavy with intent. He glanced around, nobody home. The entire penthouse sat still, as if frozen mid-breath. Curiosity tugged at him. He wasn't the snooping type, but something about the envelope felt abandoned, forgotten, quietly urgent. Only a single sentence was visible. Whoever loses me today will lose far more tomorrow. The janitor swallowed. It didn't sound like a goodbye. It sounded like a warning wrapped in heartbreak. He didn't open it fully. He took a picture of what he could see, intending to turn it in to building security. But before that, he sent the photo to his niece, joking. Rich people write the strangest things. What he didn't know was that his niece ran a popular relationship drama page with nearly 400,000 followers. And within minutes, she posted the image with a caption. A pregnant woman left this before disappearing from her penthouse last night. Thoughts? The internet ignited. Comments poured in. She sounds heartbroken. Where is she? This is a warning to someone who deserves it. Pregnant and vanished? This is terrifying. Find her, now. Soon, local news stations picked it up. Reporters started calling the Whitmore building. Neighborhood forums lit up with speculation. Influencers reacted, stitching videos, sharing theories. Everyone was trying to piece together the story of the mysterious wife who had vanished into the storm. Meanwhile, Trevor was still asleep. It wasn't until 10 a.m. that he stumbled into the kitchen, yawning, annoyed the coffee machine wasn't already on. Then he saw the letter. His stomach twisted, not in guilt, but in irritation. Drama, he muttered, picking it up as though it were an inconvenience. He read it once, twice, a third time, his brow furrowed. What was she implying? Was this some emotional stunt? Was she trying to embarrass him? His phone buzzed. Dozens of notifications, missed calls. A news headline popped up. Pregnant woman vanishes after leaving chilling note in luxury penthouse. Trevor's face drained of color. He clicked another notification, then another. Comment after comment was tearing him apart, painting him as the villain he truly was. And yet he still didn't know the worst part. The letter Lauren left behind wasn't the only thing she took with her. The truth was coming for him next. Lauren didn't know how long she wandered the streets after leaving the hotel. At some point, her body simply gave out, and she sat on the stone steps near Pike Place Market, hugging her coat tighter as cold wind curled around her. Her phone battery blinked red. She felt the exhaustion deep in her bones, not just physical, but emotional, spiritual. It was the kind of fatigue that came from losing something you never thought you'd have to fight for. She was about to close her eyes when a familiar voice cut through the fog. Lauren? She froze. Standing a few feet away was Ethan Caldwell. The Ethan Caldwell, now a highly respected media tech CEO, but once just a broke young engineer who had begged Lauren to take his first ever professional headshot back when he couldn't even afford a proper shirt. She had charged him almost nothing and wished him luck. He never forgot. He crouched beside her, eyes soft but alert. You're shaking. What happened? Where's Trevor? Her throat tightened. She didn't trust her voice, so she just shook her head. Ethan studied her, then slowly sat beside her, not crowding, not pushing, just present. I saw something online, he said gently. A letter. Your name. Is that you? Lauren swallowed hard. Yes. And are you safe? He asked. Not, what did you do? Not, why did you write that? Just, are you safe? That simple question nearly broke her. She nodded, though she wasn't sure it was true. Ethan exhaled slowly, making a decision. Come on, he said, rising. You can't sit out here freezing. I have a car waiting. No questions you don't want to answer. Just, let me help. Lauren hesitated. Accepting help from a man felt complicated, dangerous. But the alternative was wandering the city while pregnant and exhausted. She took his hand. Inside the car, warmth cocooned her. She leaned back, eyelids heavy. Ethan watched her quietly, concern tightening his features. He didn't ask about Trevor. He didn't ask about Madison. Instead, he spoke softly. "You once helped me when no one else believed in me. Let me return the favor." Her eyes burned. Nobody had said something that kind to her in months. As the car pulled away, her phone buzzed with a message, this time not from Trevor, but from an unknown number. A single line, "You don't know what you've started." Lauren's breath hitched. And in that moment, she realized someone else, someone dangerous, was watching her every move. Ethan's car moved smoothly through the quiet Seattle streets, but inside, Lauren's pulse raced like a warning drum. The unknown message still glowed on her screen. "You don't know what you've started." She didn't recognize the number. No name, no clue. But the threat behind those words felt unmistakably real. Ethan glanced over. "You okay?" Lauren hesitated. Part of her wanted to show him the message. Another part felt exposed, fragile, unsure whom she could trust. She simply nodded and looked out the window, watching buildings blur into streaks of light. When they arrived at Ethan's penthouse, a sleek, modern space overlooking the water, Lauren nearly gasped. It was warm, lived in, filled with soft light and plants. The opposite of Trevor's cold, curated perfection. Ethan guided her to the sofa. "Sit. I'll get you water." As he walked away, her eyes drifted to the walls. Photos of Ethan's early days, grainy startup offices, goofy grins with engineers, reminded her of a time before he became who he was now. Back then, he'd carried hope like a second heartbeat. He still did. Ethan returned, setting the glass gently in her hands. "Lauren, I need to tell you something, and I need you to listen all the way through." Her stomach tightened. She braced herself. "Your husband," Ethan said carefully, "has been on my radar for months. And not because of you, because of what he's been doing behind the scenes." Lauren blinked. "What are you talking about?" Ethan sat across from her, elbows on his knees. "Trevor has been leaking confidential data from his company. He's been trading information to a competitor overseas, quietly, sloppily, and dangerously." Lauren felt the air retreat from the room. "That's impossible," she whispered. "Trevor barely knows how to use anything more complicated than spreadsheets." "Exactly," Ethan said, "which is why someone else is helping him. Someone with access." Madison's face flashed in Lauren's mind. The long nights, the sudden money, the secrecy. "I didn't tell you sooner because I didn't know if you knew." Ethan continued. "But last night, when your letter went viral, everything escalated. Now people are watching him. Investigators, journalists. And whoever sent you that message, they're scared because your disappearance looks intentional, strategic." Lauren's pulse thudded. "I didn't disappear for strategy. I disappeared because my marriage, my life collapsed in one night." "I know," Ethan said gently, "but the world thinks something else, and that misunderstanding might actually protect you." A beat of silence. "Protect me from what?" she whispered. Ethan looked at her with an expression she didn't recognize: fear. "Lauren, if Trevor goes down, he's not going alone, and the people he's tangled with won't let you walk away quietly." For the first time in months, Lauren slept without hearing Trevor pacing the hallway, sighing loudly, or criticizing the way she breathed. Ethan gave her the guest room, a quiet sanctuary with warm lighting, soft blankets, and a window overlooking the water. She drifted in and out of sleep, exhaustion finally catching up with her. When she woke, the house smelled faintly of coffee and toasted bread. It felt human, gentle, real. She walked into the open kitchen, one hand instinctively resting on her belly. Ethan stood at the stove, sleeves rolled up, making scrambled eggs. "You don't have to do that," she whispered. He turned, offering a small smile. "You shouldn't be running on fumes. Sit." Lauren hesitated, then slowly took a seat. No man had ever made her breakfast before, not even Trevor, not even once. She didn't know whether to feel grateful or ashamed that such a simple act could shake her. Ethan slid a plate in front of her. "Eat. Then we'll figure out the next steps." "Next steps?" she repeated. He nodded, pulling up a chair across from her. "You can't go home. Not now. Not with things escalating the way they are." A knot formed in her chest. "I don't want to go back," she admitted. "I can't." Ethan leaned forward. "Good, because there's something else you need to know." Her stomach tightened, not from the pregnancy, but from dread. "What now?" Trevor filed a missing person alert this morning, Ethan said. The police contacted his office. He told them you ran off during an emotional episode. He's painting you as unstable. He's trying to regain control of the narrative. Lauren's fork slipped from her fingers. He's saying I'm unsafe? Yes. And it gets worse, Ethan said quietly. He implied you might be a danger to the baby. Her breath caught. He wouldn't. He already did. Tears stung her eyes, hot, angry, humiliated. Trevor wasn't just trying to ruin her reputation. He was trying to destroy her motherhood. To weaponize her pregnancy, Ethan reached across the table, his voice steady. That's why you stay here, with me. Until we clear this. Lauren covered her face with both hands. I don't understand how everything fell apart so fast. It didn't, Ethan said softly. It's been breaking for a long time. Last night just tore the last thread. She lowered her hands, her gaze finding his. Why are you helping me, Ethan? He hesitated. Something flickered across his expression, something Lauren couldn't quite name. Because, he said slowly, I owe you more than you know. Before she could ask what he meant, a loud knock thundered against the door. Ethan's face went pale. Lauren, he whispered, stay behind me. I think they found you. The pounding on the door echoed through the penthouse like a warning shot. Lauren's entire body tensed. Her hands instinctively shielded her belly as she stepped back, retreating into the shadow of the hallway. Ethan moved swiftly but calmly toward the entrance, his jaw tightening. Don't say anything, he murmured over his shoulder. Not yet. The knocking came again, louder this time. Ethan opened the door only halfway. Two officers stood in the hall, their expressions stern but professional. Mr. Caldwell? The taller one asked. Yes, Ethan replied, masking the tension in his voice. We're following up on a missing person report filed early this morning. A Mrs. Lauren Whitmore. We have reason to believe she may be here. Lauren's pulse thundered in her ears. Trevor really did it. He turned her disappearance, a moment of survival, into a weapon against her. Ethan didn't flinch. I haven't seen her since the charity event last month, he said smoothly. Why would she be here? The officers exchanged a glance. Her husband claims she's unstable, emotionally overwhelmed from pregnancy, possibly in danger. We're obligated to check every potential location. Lauren felt tears forming, not from fear, but from fury. Unstable, unfit. Trevor was rewriting her existence in real time. The shorter officer glanced past Ethan, scanning the entryway. Mind if we look around? Ethan blocked the doorway with a measured step. Unless you have a warrant, I don't allow searches in my home. But I'm happy to answer your questions. His tone was polite, firm, and completely unshakable. The officers paused, recalibrating. They weren't expecting resistance. And they definitely weren't expecting Ethan Caldwell, whose influence in Seattle's tech and philanthropic circles was no small thing. The taller officer cleared his throat. If Mrs. Whitmore contacts you, notify us immediately. Of course, Ethan replied. When he closed the door, the tension snapped like a wire. Lauren exhaled shakily, leaning against the wall. They're treating me like I'm dangerous, she whispered. Like I'm some threat. Ethan turned to her, expression fierce. No, Trevor wants control back. This is how men like him operate. They twist the truth until the world bends with it. Lauren pressed her palms to her face. How am I supposed to fight that? You won't fight alone, Ethan said, and you're safer here than anywhere else. She looked up, eyes red. Why are you risking this for me? He hesitated. Pain flickered through his gaze, almost like memory. Because, Lauren, you helped me when I was nothing. And because Trevor isn't just cheating, he's doing something far worse. Lauren stiffened. Worse than betrayal? Ethan nodded slowly. Your husband isn't just lying to you. He's building a trap, and you're the key piece he needs to stay out of prison. Lauren sat on the edge of the sofa, numb, her mind spiraling with Ethan's words. Trevor is building a trap, and you're the key piece he needs to stay out of prison. For years, she thought Trevor's ambition made him disciplined, focused, admirable. She never imagined it could make him dangerous. Meanwhile, the city buzzed with speculation. Her letter had gone viral overnight. Blogs, podcasts, YouTube channels, all dissecting the single haunting line she wrote. People argued whether she was a victim, a runaway, or a woman planning something much bigger. Trevor chose the narrative himself. By midday, a press conference streamed live from the lobby of the Whitmore building. Ethan turned on the TV, and there Trevor stood perfectly groomed, wearing the soft grief of a man who practiced sorrow in the mirror. "My wife," Trevor said, voice trembling strategically, "is suffering from emotional distress due to pregnancy complications. She left home unexpectedly. I love her deeply. I only want her safe." Lauren's stomach churned. The reporters began pressing. Was the letter a threat? Did she leave voluntarily? Had there been marital problems? Trevor shook his head, lips pressed into a pitiful line. "Lauren has always struggled with anxiety," he said. "She becomes overwhelmed easily. I just pray she comes home before she harms herself or the baby." Lauren covered her mouth, horrified. Ethan muted the TV immediately. "He's rewriting you," Ethan said quietly. "He's creating a version of you that can't defend itself." Lauren felt her pulse pounding in her throat. Why would he do this? Why portray me as unstable? Ethan hesitated. Because if investigators dig into his illegal deals, he needs leverage. If he can convince people you're mentally fragile, he can claim anything you say is unreliable. He protects himself, and he destroys you in the process. Lauren leaned back, shaking. "So I'm not just fighting betrayal, I'm fighting erasure. And that," Ethan said, "is why he can't find you." Moments later, Lauren's phone buzzed a blocked number again. This time, the message was longer. "Come home now. You're embarrassing yourself. You're embarrassing me. And if you don't return, I will make sure the world knows the truth about your condition." Lauren's blood ran cold. Condition? She didn't have any condition. "What is he talking about?" she whispered. Ethan's expression hardened. He's bluffing, or inventing something, or his voice trailed off. Lauren clutched her belly. "Ethan, what if he knows something I don't?" He stared at the message, then at Lauren, realization slowly sharpening his features. "Lauren, what exactly did your last medical report say?" Lauren's fingers tightened around the edge of the kitchen island as Ethan's question echoed in the air. "What exactly did your last medical report say?" She swallowed hard. "It said everything was normal. The baby is healthy. My blood pressure was a little high, but the doctor said it was stress, not a condition." Ethan nodded slowly, but his expression didn't relax. Trevor's threat sounded too specific. He's trying to weaponize your health. That means he's either bluffing or he has access to information he shouldn't. Lauren blinked. "He doesn't go to my appointments. He doesn't read my charts. He barely knows my due date." "Exactly," Ethan murmured. "So how does he know anything at all?" Before Lauren could answer, Ethan's phone chimed. A message from an unknown contact. He opened it and froze. "It's a file," he whispered. "A video file." "From who?" Lauren asked, pulse quickening. "There's no name, just a link." Ethan connected his laptop to the TV and clicked play. Security footage appeared. "Hotel Corridor." Lauren leaned forward, breath caught in her throat. Madison stepped into frame, adjusting her hair and laughing. Behind her, Trevor pulled her close and kissed her deeply, shamelessly. The timestamp matched the night Lauren first saw them together. But the footage didn't end there. As Trevor walked away, Madison faced the camera directly and smirked an intentional, chilling smirk, as if she knew Lauren would eventually see this, as if the betrayal were a performance she enjoyed. Lauren's chest tightened. "Who recorded this?" "Someone at the hotel," Ethan said. "Someone who knows what's happening isn't right." Then the next clip played. Trevor handing an envelope to a man near the elevator. The man slipping a USB drive into Trevor's hand. Trevor's eyes darting around nervously. Another timestamp, another piece in the puzzle. "This is it," Ethan said, voice low. "This proves he's dealing off the record. The envelope, the drive, he's exchanging something valuable, something illegal." Lauren felt her stomach twist. "He's risking everything. For what?" "Money, leverage, power," Ethan paused. "Maybe even all three." Lauren's throat tightened as another realization hit her. "So this has been going on for months, while I thought he was just working late." "Anne?" Ethan turned to her. "Lauren, this is bigger than infidelity. He's compromised. And if he thinks you know anything at all, he'll keep trying to discredit you." Lauren wrapped her arms around herself, shivering. "Why is all of this coming to me now?" Ethan stared at the screen, eyes narrowing. "Because someone out there wants Trevor exposed, and they're choosing you to finish the job." Lauren didn't recognize herself in the mirror at first, not because she looked different, but because for the first time in months, her eyes weren't dull, they weren't lifeless or apologetic. They were awake, alive, focused. It started subtly. A small shift in posture, a firmer breath. Ethan returned from a meeting to find her sitting at his kitchen table, hair tied back, laptop open, reviewing old photography files she thought she had lost. When he asked what she was doing, she simply said, "Finding the pieces of myself I left behind." It wasn't poetic. It was factual. The world was painting her as fragile. Trevor was insisting she was unstable. Madison played the grieving friend online, pretending to care while bathing in attention. But Lauren felt something else rising in her resolve. The kind that forms when a woman finally stops asking why someone hurt her and starts asking why she tolerated it for so long. She opened her email for the first time in days. Old clients had reached out, saying they saw her letter online and were worried. A small gallery owner offered to redisplay her photography series from years ago. A brand she once collaborated with asked if she'd be open to editing content again. Her hands trembled not from fear, but from recognition. "This is who I was before Trevor made me smaller." Ethan noticed the change. "You look different," he said quietly. "No," she corrected, "I look like myself." That afternoon, Lauren took a long shower, letting the hot water wash away the shame and doubt clinging to her skin. She changed into clean clothes. Ethan had bought her soft, simple, comfortable. When she stepped out of the bathroom, her posture was straighter, her steps lighter. She even laughed quietly, but genuinely, when Ethan attempted to make her tea and nearly burned himself. But beneath the healing was something more strategic. Lauren lifted her chin. "Ethan, if Trevor is dealing illegally, he will panic soon. He'll make mistakes." "He already is," Ethan replied. "Then we need to stay ahead of him." Ethan studied her, impressed. "You're stronger than you think." Lauren touched her belly softly. "I have to be. For both of us." Her phone buzzed on the counter, another notification. But this time, it wasn't a threat or a smear campaign. It was a message from the same unknown sender who shared the hotel footage. "If you're ready, there's more you need to see." Lauren's breath caught. And just like that, her transformation wasn't just emotional. It was a call to battle. The annual Whitmore Innovations Gala was the kind of event that made headlines before it even happened. Guests arrived in tailored tuxedos and glittering gowns, stepping out of luxury cars as if descending from clouds. The ballroom inside the Columbia Tower shimmered with chandeliers, gold-rimmed champagne flutes, and a panoramic view of Seattle that felt almost unreal. It was Trevor's favorite night of the year, a night where he got to play the hero of his own story. The city's elite filled the room, laughing, posing for photographers, praising Trevor's leadership as if they hadn't read the swirling online theories about Lauren's disappearance. Some whispered behind their cocktails, others kept their distance. One reporter asked about Lauren at the entrance, but Trevor dismissed it with a sorrowful shake of the head. "She's ill. I'm praying she gets the help she needs." The pity in their eyes made him look virtuous, exactly what he wanted. Madison clung to his arm, wearing a designer gown in a shade of crimson, too bold for a supposed concerned friend. She whispered into Trevor's ear, giggling as if the night were a celebration instead of a cover-up. She loved being on his arm, loved the attention, loved stepping into the spotlight that once belonged to Lauren. Inside the ballroom, a massive digital screen looped highlights from Trevor's company. Product launches, charity events, press interviews, all carefully curated, all carefully staged. He was preparing to announce a major expansion deal. What the crowd didn't know was that the deal was based on stolen data, the same illegal exchange caught on video. And he needed tonight to go perfectly. Everything about the room glowed with money. The Cartier donation items, the live string quartet, the auction table featuring vacations to Bali and Tuscany. Trevor walked through it like a king surveying his kingdom. But the cracks were showing. A group of board members huddled together, their expressions tight. Investors spoke cautiously, skepticism lingering in their tone. 2 journalists had been denied entrance entirely. Trevor's PR team didn't want any unpredictable questions. Madison squeezed his hand. "Relax. You look tense." "I'm not tense," Trevor snapped, though his jaw said otherwise. He scanned the room again, forcing a smile. Everything was under control. Everything was going according to plan. until the lights suddenly flickered once, twice before stabilizing. A murmur spread across the room. Trevor frowned. What the hell was that? A stagehand rushed past, pale. "Sir, we have a situation backstage, something with the presentation file." Trevor's stomach tightened. "What situation?" The man swallowed hard. "Someone replaced your presentation, and it's about to play." The ballroom lights dimmed just as Trevor stepped toward the stage, rehearsing his smile, the polished, practiced grin that had charmed investors for years. Conversations softened, champagne flutes paused midair, and hundreds of eyes turned toward the massive screen behind him. A flawless introduction was supposed to play. Drone footage of the company headquarters, triumphant music, Trevor's name glowing like a crown. Instead, the screen turned black. A whisper rippled through the room. Then click. A grainy hotel hallway appeared. Trevor froze. Madison, still at the edge of the stage, went rigid. Her lipstick-red smile vanished. The video played in silence, the ballroom holding its breath. There was Madison, smoothing her hair, laughing. There was Trevor, pulling her into a kiss, deep, lingering, unmistakable. There was the timestamp. There was the doorway of a luxury suite. Gasps erupted. A woman in the front row clapped a hand over her mouth. A board member swore under his breath. Phones lifted instantly, recording the moment for the world to feast on. Trevor's voice cracked. "Turn it off, right now." But the screen refused to obey. The second clip began. Trevor exchanging an envelope with a man near the elevator. Trevor scanning the hallway like a guilty criminal. Trevor slipping a USB drive into his jacket. Silence fractured into chaos. What is that? Is that data? Is he selling company intel? Oh my God, he's been lying to shareholders. The board members, once his loyal defenders, now exchanged looks that could shatter steel. Trevor lunged toward the stage crew. "Shut it down." But before he reached them, a third clip began to play. Lauren's letter, projected across 70 feet of digital screen. "Whoever loses me today will lose far more tomorrow." The crowd erupted not with laughter, but with sharp, electric murmurs that sliced the air. Madison backed away, trembling, her lipstick now smeared, her composure gone. Trevor spun toward the audience. "This is fake, all of it. My wife is mentally unstable, she's setting me up." A voice cut through the noise, steady and cold. "Funny, because she's standing right there." Trevor whipped around. The ballroom doors opened. Lauren stepped inside, elegant, calm, glowing, not with fear but with undeniable power. Every head turned. Flashbulbs exploded. The entire room shifted its gaze to the woman Trevor had tried to erase. Lauren took one slow step forward, her belly visible beneath her fitted black dress. And for the first time in his life, Trevor looked genuinely afraid. Because he finally understood she wasn't here to run. She was here to end him. For a full 10 seconds, no one in the ballroom moved. The glittering chandeliers seemed to freeze mid-sparkle. The music died. The air thickened. Lauren walked toward the stage with the kind of calm that didn't come from confidence, but from clarity. The clarity of someone who had finally stopped loving a lie. Her steps were slow, deliberate, echoing across marble floors. Trevor stumbled backward. "Lauren, what are you doing here? You shouldn't." "Finish that sentence," she said gently. "Please, tell all these people why I shouldn't be here." The audience murmured, their eyes bouncing between them. Madison plastered herself against the far wall, trembling, mascara streaked like black rivers. Lauren turned toward the massive screen. "Play the rest." Trevor lunged forward. No, but it was already happening. A new file appeared, one no one had seen except the mysterious sender. This one showed Trevor sitting in his office late at night, arguing with someone over video chat. "Do you think she suspects anything?" the voice asked. Trevor scoffed. "Lauren, please. That woman barely understands what's happening in our marriage. She won't question a thing." Lauren's jaw tightened. The clip continued. "And if she does?" the voice pressed. Trevor leaned back, smirking. "She's emotionally fragile. Everyone knows it. If she talks, she'll sound unstable. No one will take her seriously." Gasps erupted. Phones raced to record the moment. Lauren didn't flinch. She simply tilted her head, studying Trevor as though seeing a child caught stealing candy. Then came the last line in the recording. "And once the expansion deal goes through, I'm filing for divorce. I'm done pretending." The room detonated with noise, outrage, whispers, shouting. A board member stepped forward. "Trevor, is this real? This is your voice." Trevor wiped sweat from his brow. "It's edited. She staged this. She's manipulating all of you. She's always been unstable." Lauren lifted a hand, silencing him without effort. "I'm pregnant, Trevor. Remember?" Emotionally fragile pregnant women aren't exactly known for hacking corporate servers. A wave of laughter, sharp, unforgiving, swept through the room. Trevor's face crumbled. Then Lauren took a breath, her voice steady but edged with steel. "This is not about infidelity. This is about abuse, manipulation, lies, and a criminal enterprise you tried to bury under my name." Security moved closer. The board members whispered to one another, their expressions grim. Madison tried to slip away, but the crowd closed in around her. Trevor pointed at Lauren, desperation overtaking his features. "If I go down for this, you go down with me." Lauren stepped closer, her eyes unwavering. "No, Trevor," she whispered. "I rise, you fall." And, as if the universe agreed, the ballroom doors burst open, and federal agents stormed inside. The first federal agent through the door held up a badge that glinted under the ballroom chandeliers. "Trevor Whitmore," the agent announced, voice booming. "You are under investigation for corporate espionage, data fraud, and obstruction of justice." Gasps erupted across the room. Madison let out a strangled sound, stumbling backward into a table of untouched champagne glasses. Trevor's jaw dropped. "This is insane. You can't just walk in here. This is a private event." The agent didn't blink. "And this is a federal investigation." Cameras flashed. Guests whisper-shouted. Social media influencers already had their phones raised, broadcasting the moment to thousands, soon to be millions. But Trevor wasn't done fighting. He pointed at Lauren with a trembling, furious hand. "She set me up. She stole documents. She's lying. She's unstable. Ask anyone. She's been mentally off for months." A hush fell. Everyone turned to Lauren. She didn't speak. She didn't need to. Ethan stepped forward instead, his presence grounding the chaos. "Agent, you should know Trevor attempted to file a false mental health report to smear his wife. You might want to check the timestamp on that." The agent nodded, already scribbling notes. "We have reason to believe Mr. Whitmore orchestrated a false narrative about his wife's disappearance to preemptively weaken her legal credibility." Trevor sputtered. I was trying to protect her." Lauren finally spoke, her voice quiet but diamond sharp. "Protect me? You tried to erase me." Madison's voice cracked as she tried to interject. "Trevor, say something. Fix this." But Trevor shrugged her off, panic devouring whatever charm he had left. "This is your fault, too. You were supposed to help me keep it together." "Help you?" Madison hissed. "You promised I'd get a stake in the company once your wife was gone." Gasps erupted again, this time sharper, uglier. Lauren watched Trevor's face drain of color. Every mask he had ever worn peeled away. Every lie unraveled in seconds. Agents moved toward him. One read from a document. "We have warrants for your office, your devices, and your financial accounts. You will come with us." Trevor tried one last desperate move. He lunged toward Lauren, eyes wild. "You ruined everything." But security intercepted him instantly, pinning him to the ground as guests recoiled. Lauren didn't flinch. She simply stared down at him, a man broken by his own hands. "You did this," she said softly. "Not me." As Trevor was dragged away, the entire ballroom pulsed with a stunned, electric silence. Then, a second team of agents approached Madison. "Miss Cole, you're coming with us as well." Madison froze. And Lauren realized the night wasn't finished because the truth had one more target to claim. When the ballroom finally cleared, leaving only scattered glasses and the echo of a night no one would forget, Lauren felt her knees tremble. Not from fear, not from shock, but from the weight of finally being free. For the first time in years, the air around her didn't feel filtered through someone else's control. She inhaled deeply, really deeply, letting the cold breath of truth settle inside her. Ethan approached slowly, as if afraid to break the fragile moment. "You did it," he said softly. Lauren shook her head. "No, Trevor did this to himself. I just stopped protecting the version of him I wanted to believe in." A laugh, weak but honest, escaped her. The kind of laugh that wasn't about humor, but relief. The board members approached with careful steps, their expressions a mix of embarrassment and respect. The chairwoman cleared her throat. "Mrs. Whitmore, we owe you an apology. We believed him when we should have investigated sooner." Lauren nodded, not out of forgiveness but acknowledgement. "Just make sure he can't hurt anyone else." "We will," the woman promised. Outside, the midnight air wrapped around her like a cool blanket. Protesters, reporters, and curious onlookers filled the street, lights flashing, questions rising like smoke. But security blocked them from getting too close. Ethan held open the car door. "Let's get you home." Home. The word felt different now. Not like a location, but a possibility. Once inside the car, exhaustion hit her in waves. Her hand drifted to her belly, rubbing gently. "We're okay," she whispered to the life growing inside her. "It's over." But Ethan shook his head gently. "It's not over. Not yet. You still have choices to make." Legal steps. Public statements. Lauren nodded. She knew he was right. But she also knew something else, something deeper, something she hadn't felt in far too long. Hope. Back at Ethan's penthouse, she changed into soft clothes and curled onto the sofa. Ethan brought her tea, setting it down in front of her without a word. His presence was steady, grounding, warm. "When this is all done," he said quietly, "you won't just survive this. You'll rebuild. And it will be yours, not borrowed, not controlled." Lauren swallowed a lump in her throat. "I never wanted a war." "No," Ethan agreed, "but you won it." A soft vibration from her phone interrupted them. A new message. From an unknown number again. But this time, there were only 2 words. "Check your mail." Lauren's heartbeat quickened. She rose slowly, walked to the door, opened the mailbox. And inside lay an envelope with her name written in Trevor's handwriting. And she knew the final chapter wasn't finished yet. The envelope felt heavier than paper had any right to be. Lauren held it between trembling fingers as she returned to the living room, Ethan watching her carefully, ready to catch her if the past tried to knock her down again. She opened it slowly. Inside was a handwritten letter from Trevor, written before the gala, before the arrest, before his empire collapsed around him. His words were messy, frantic, nothing like the polished man he tried to be. "Lauren, if anything happens, you need to know. Madison has access to everything. She knows what I did, she helped. If she panics, she'll drag you into it too. Don't trust her. Don't trust anyone. I never meant for things to go this far. I thought I could control it. I thought I could control you. You were supposed to stay predictable, quiet. I never imagined you'd leave. If you expose me, my life is over. And yours? Yours will change in ways you can't take back." Lauren lowered the letter, a strange calm washing over her. It wasn't an apology. It was a confession of fear, a final admission that Trevor never truly understood the strength of the woman he married. Ethan exhaled. "This is the last nail in his case. And the last piece of my freedom," Lauren murmured. Over the next weeks, everything settled into place. Madison accepted a plea deal, confessing her role in Trevor's crimes in exchange for reduced charges. Trevor, however, faced the full weight of federal prosecution, espionage, fraud, coercion. His lawyers couldn't save him. His charm couldn't sway anyone. His fall was complete. Lauren signed the final divorce papers, surrounded by supportive friends, her lawyer, and Ethan. The judge granted her full custody, financial restitution, and protection from Trevor for life. When she walked out of the courthouse, sunlight touched her face. She felt lighter than she had in years. Her photography career reignited requests pouring in from galleries, magazines, and brands wanting to support the woman who had become a symbol of resilience. She moved into a warm, cozy home overlooking Elliott Bay, filling it with plants, soft blankets, and her baby's future nursery. And Ethan stayed. Not as a savior, not as a replacement for what she lost, but as someone who saw the woman she had become. Months later, when her daughter Emma was born, Ethan held the newborn with the gentleness of someone who had already chosen them both, long before they realized it. Lauren finally understood something profound. Strength wasn't built from suffering. It was built from rising after it. She stood with Emma in her arms, watching the sunrise paint the water gold, and whispered, "We're free now." And for the first time, the future didn't scare her. It belonged to her. So, that's where our story comes to an end. And if you're still here with me right now, my friend, it means something in this journey touched your heart in a very real way. Maybe it reminded you of your own strength. Maybe it reminded you of a moment you thought you wouldn't survive, but somehow you did. You know, the Stoics often said, the obstacle is the way. And Lauren's story is exactly that proof that the things meant to break us often become the things that shape us. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events." Once Lauren stopped trying to control the storm and instead chose to walk through it, she found her life waiting on the other side. And maybe that's something you needed to hear today. That healing isn't loud. Strength isn't perfect. And survival doesn't always look graceful. But you can rise in your own time, in your own way. If this story gave you even a little comfort or courage, we'd love for you to like, share, and subscribe. Not for the numbers, but so these stories can reach the people who truly need them. You're not alone. And your story isn't over.